Howdy everybody, and welcome back to our Legacy of the Wizard tutorial. Well, today, now that we finally have our transitions in, we are going to be looking at character selection. So let's get started on this. Let's get cracking. There we go. So last time, we managed to get into the inside house room with our transitions. So what we have here in this room, we have a background layer. And we have an instance layer, which is empty. And assets, which is just a picture I took from the game. So, what are we going to do with all that? Well, we're going to make a couple of different objects to get us started. Let's see, number one would be object underscore stat underscore bar. Stat bar is going to be very important for us later on, but for now, we just need to add a couple of different variables here. 0 because we don't want it animating. X is equal to 0. I mean, it's only one frame, so even if it does animate, it won't actually do anything, but might as well set the image speed to 0. That way there doesn't even have to be any calculations for incrementing the image. So, and y is equal to -4. So we're positioning this via code here. So we come here and where is it? Inventory. No, that's not it. Did I put it backwards? Oh, there it is. Stat bar. Alright, so we got this there, so we'll just drag this into the room. Put it out of the way somewhere. Gotta make sure you're on the instances layer when you're trying to add an object. There we go. And now this will show up at the top of the room whenever you go into this room. So. And we'll work some more on that later for showing how much gold and life and whatnot that your character has. So our second object is going to be a little bit more interesting. This will be obj underscore selectable character. Because we are going to want to be able to select characters, right? So let me look at my reference code here. I'm going to introduce you to something new here. We call variable definitions. Variable definitions is just kind of like a fancy way of organizing your variables for specifically if you want to have something in a room and you go here and you just click this button and you can edit variables directly. So if you have variables that you want to change in the room, you might consider putting them into the variable definitions. So we're going to add here a new variable. It's going to be an integer because we want a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And our variable name is going to be character. So char underscore. Because, yeah. Alright, next up, add create. We're going to need some code in here. And we are going to throw in, first thing first, an enum. So we got our character enum. We have grandpa, grandma, pet, girl, boy, dad, and mom. So got all those. Second up, we got a switch. And we're going to be using that variable we just made, character. And what we're going to do here is case char dot grandpa. Then we're going to organize it. Fun. Sprite underscore index is equal to sprite underscore grandpa. And break. So this will allow us to change the sprite for this object on the fly according to whatever character we want it to be. So we could change this from grandpa to grandma. And same thing here. Ma. And we just do the same thing for all the rest of the characters. Like so. Then we want to add in another thing for palette swapping because we are going to use palette swapping with these characters for the transition from the inside of the house room to the inventory room. So we'll just set that up now. palette, not double L's. You'd think I'd spell that better by now, but I don't. And then we're going to add a draw event because we'll want to draw this special with our palette. So we have pal underscore swap underscore set, and there is a palette in the sprites, sprite underscore character underscore screen palette transition palette, and we'll use the palette variable as our index. And say false there, and remember to end our palette swap, and then just draw our image as normal. So just draw sprite.ext using all of the defaults. And that should be good for the character selection. So let's move these into the house here. You can see I already have one there, but we're going to need a lot more. So go over here and try to position these in the same place because this is where the characters are supposed to pop up. And you over here. You just a little bit underneath. And last but not least, you over here. See, there. Nah, it doesn't really matter. And you go there. You there. Alright, so now we're going to set up each one of these with that variable we set in there. So 0 was our grandpa. So what is this one? This is the boy. So boy is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4. You have to click this button and set it to 4. Then we have next one should be the dad, I think. Let's see, 4, 5, and 6. Five, 6. That's 0. This is 1. And you're 2 for the pet, I believe. Yep, good. And 3 for the girl. So if we pop into our game, we now have a populated room that looks very nice and just the way the game looked. Got our girl, boy, dad, mom, etc. But what are we going to do with these things? Well, how are we going to choose which one we want to use? So that comes into our third object. obj underscore character underscore selector, and the character selector should be there, sprite glove. There we go. And again, we'll draw you into the room, put you right there at the bottom to start. Add a create event. We're going to put in some simple movement for this character selector so that the character can be moved around to choose which one you want to get. So we're going to have x underscore input underscore is equal to 0, y underscore input underscore is equal to 0, a underscore input underscore is equal to 0, b underscore input underscore is equal to 0, and speed underscore is equal to 1. Technically, you don't really need that speed bit, but it's kind of an artifact of when I was trying to figure out how to get movement working, and I had it set to 30 FPS instead of 60 FPS, so I was completely wondering why in the world I was only moving half as fast as the characters in the screen in the game. So I set it up to move with 2 pixels per frame instead of 1 for a bit. So target is no one because we want our target will be whatever character we're selecting, and selecting underscore is equal to true. When we are moving the character selector around, that'll be a selecting sort of state. Transitioning underscore is equal to false. Again, that's a transitioning state. And I could have set these things up as states, but again, this is just a really simple thing, so I didn't think about it at the time. Loading underscore is equal to false, and saving underscore is equal to false. We'll use those in a little bit when I set up loading and saving. Flash underscore called underscore is equal to false. Flash underscore frames underscore is equal to 60, and flash underscore counter underscore is equal to flash underscore frames. So we use those for the transitioning effect out of this room. And next up, a step event. So what are we going to do here? We have if selecting. So if we're in the selecting state, then do all this. What are we going to do? Basic input. X underscore input underscore is equal to object underscore input dot right underscore check underscore minus object underscore input dot left underscore check underscore. And I'm just going to copy this because I'm going to need it a bit. Then y underscore input underscore is equal to object input dot down underscore check minus object input dot up underscore check. Then a underscore input underscore is equal to object input dot action underscore a pressed, because we don't want to be checking continuously. We only want to check once per frame. There we go. Basic input. What does this do? We have right. So if you're pressing the right arrow, this value will be 1. And if you're not pressing the left arrow, this value will be 0. 1 minus 0 is 1, and coordinates go from 0 to infinity. So therefore, if you are pressing right, you will go right. We'll add 1 to your X position. Then same thing for if you're holding left and not holding right, then you will have minus 1 taken from your, added to your X position. So then if you have both of these things, then nothing happens. And same thing with the up and down. You're just checking to see which one goes which direction. And then of course A and B. So let's add some movement. X plus equal X underscore input underscore times speed underscore. Y plus equal Y underscore input underscore times speed underscore. And last but not least, clamp to room, because we don't want the movement of this character selector to be able to go anywhere. We want it to be limited to just inside of a specific square. So what we're going to do is, after we have added movement, check to see if we have moved outside of our allowed area. So then we say X 32208. Clamp limits whatever value you add in here to the bounds you give it. So in this case, I want X to only be able to be 32 to 208. So, and Y is equal to clamp Y 84196. There we go. So in the game, you'll actually move to outside of the area for a brief second right here. but then this will move you back. So if you had like a check, you said you want, so if you had like a door, you could actually check if I'm at position 209 here in X, if the door is here at 209, you can check for if I'm touching that door real quick before clamping the person back to the room. That way you could get the door check and you know that the person tried to move outside of the room while not actually showing the animation of the person moving outside of the room. So that's a useful feature that'll be used later on. So let's do some state changes here. So do something when you click on someone. If a underscore input underscore. In GameMaker, a 0 is treated as false, a 1 is treated as true. So when you're checking for booleans, you only need to check for a underscore input. And that will say, if this is true, automatically then do this. Or you can put, if it is false, do this. So that makes it very easy to work with on that end. So if a underscore input, so if somebody hit a, then var underscore target is equal to instance underscore place xy object underscore selectable character. So what we're doing here, we are creating a temporary variable that says that will only exist for this one frame. That says underscore target is equal to instance place. Whatever is in this, what object is in the same space that I am at? Is there a object here? So in this case, it says variable target. If there is nobody there, then it'll just return no one. If there is somebody there, it'll give you the instance ID of that instance. So, or let me say if underscore target does not equal no one. So if we found something there, then switch underscore target dot car. So we are getting the character variable from the object that we have clicked on. And we have several different options that we will fill in, so that we can make cases out of them, so we can choose what we want to do whenever we want to, whenever we click on something. So what else do we do next? Next up, we say if we have the car.girl, then do one thing. Case car.grandma and case car.grandpa. So I didn't code in all the characters. I only just did the girl, grandma, and grandpa, because having all the different characters would be a bit difficult. Well, it wouldn't be difficult. It would just be time consuming, and I don't want to use up all my time making different characters when I just need one for showing you how to do it. So when you select the girl, a message will show up that says you selected the girl. Grandma and grandpa. So what are we going to do with this? We have the character selector inside the room. Let's test it out. So check down here. This is where debug messages show up. Select a girl. Select a grandma. And select a grandpa. Alright, great. It looks like it's working just fine. And we have our nice little inside the house music. Nothing's happening when we click the other characters, which is good. So I think we're done. Thank you everybody for watching, and good luck with your coding.